love. It is at once nurturing, unconditional, and primal. What more demonstration of caring is there on the entire planet than a mother's love? We hold our children close when they'll let us, and read them bedtime stories when they'll let us. In fact, my grandchildren would prefer to watch a video than to have me read them a bedtime story. Pretty sad, I think, in some ways. But we need to take care of them. We still need to make sure that we dry their tears when they fall down, that we nurture them when they feel unhappy. When they're babies, we take care of their every need. We feed them, we hold them. We do everything for them, and then they become mobile. And it's a whole different story, and those of you who are parents here know exactly what I'm talking about. Now it's our job to protect them, to make sure that they don't hurt themselves falling down the stairs or touching a hot stove or running into traffic. That's our job. But children learn what they live, and if we're going to create that culture of caring, it starts with us as parents and perhaps even grandparents. When we care about our children, we teach them to care about others. When we focus on the little blue screen, we teach them to focus on the little blue screen. How do we demonstrate that we truly care about them? The first thing is that we must be truly present. When we are with our children, we must focus on them, not be worried about texting a friend or making sure that we respond to a client email or something else. We need to be truly present. We need to listen with our hearts and our ears. Our eyes as well as our ears. I believe that we have emotional bank accounts with every single member of our family. In fact, Stephen Covey was the person who said it, that we have these emotional bank accounts. But what I discovered is that when I keep that bank balance high, when I make sure that I'm really present with my children and my grandchildren now, they respond and they light up. They understand that I'm giving them something very precious. I'm giving them me. So what else contributes to creating a culture of caring? Certainly physical touch. Studies tell us that hugs can keep us happy and healthy. In fact, a prolonged hug actually releases oxytocin, which is that super hormone that's released when a mother nurses a child or when a woman holds a baby. And in fact, I have suggested to all kinds of women who have had trouble conceiving that if they will just go hold newborns, and you know what? It works. 3 out of 5 of the women that I've recommended this to so far have given birth. Very exciting. A prolonged hug reduces our stress. It reduces our blood pressure and our heart rate. It makes us able to function better because we're not so stressed out. A shorter hug still has a therapeutic effect. In fact, when you give multiple hugs, it has an effect of a multiple effect, actually. And it means that we are accepting love and energy. And by the way, when we give hugs freely and encourage our children to ask for hugs, everybody benefits. One of the things that I learned, I don't remember who told me, probably one of my speaker friends, is that hugging heart to heart really feels differently. And by the way, it's 40 Celsius back in Austin, Texas, where I get my mail. And it's 13 here. So I'll take all the hugs that you want to give me to stay warm. But when you hug heart to heart. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you lunge right, your right, that will be their left, and that will be your heart at their heart. Now, there is a problem when you have someone who's 6 feet tall and me, but we do the best we can. When you lunge right, you can actually feel the difference. It really is a remarkable experience. And I just learned this last week. Never be the first person to break a hug. Now, there are some exceptions if we're talking about the workplace, but you will discover that when you keep hugging, you keep getting those good feelings all back. This is a picture of my greatest learning experience. This was my first husband. May he rest in peace, and our 2 daughters. But he said something that was really important to remember. What he said was, being a parent is the most important job and the most challenging one you will ever have. And truly, I know from experience, he was right. But we have work families too, and as Dennis talked about, that has been my focus throughout my career, is focusing on how to help organizations create better work families and to have better cultures. What I have learned is that culture starts at the top. Howard Schultz was the very successful CEO of Starbucks. Now he's moved on, I think. I think he moved up to chairman, and now I think he's moved on from there. But one of the things that he did for his people was that he understood that when his life was in balance, the whole company ran better. And so what that means to me is that he understood that CEOs are role models and that everything that the CEO does models what he hopes that the people who report to him do. Schultz gave health insurance to his part-timers and encouraged people to go back to school and get more education and training. He was truly what we call in the book, How to Become an Employer of Choice, an enlightened leader. Enlightened leaders, and yes, that's a picture of Richard Branson that I actually took myself, are future-oriented. Who could be more of a role model for being future-oriented than our friend Richard Branson, huh? They appreciate their people. Did you know that Richard Branson gave his people unlimited vacation? He told them that they could take vacation anytime they wanted to, as long as they got their jobs done. Wow, that's appreciating people. He walks the talk. He inspires servant leadership. And he really cares about his people. Enlightened leaders are the executives that we follow because we want to, not because we have to. They're the people who have a vision for tomorrow, and they're able to articulate it in a way that motivates us to want to help them to achieve it. One of my favorite companies that's exemplary of having this culture of caring that I'm so enthusiastic about is a company called Boddie, Noell. They're located in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. They own and operate over 500 Hardee's restaurants. If you've never been to the U.S., they're basically burger joints. Hardee's employs 10,000 people almost. And when Hurricane Floyd hit, it devastated some of the areas where their restaurants are and therefore the homes of some of their employees. But what happened was that everybody pulled together and they raised money, in some cases, helping people who had been totally wiped out by the hurricane. It was a very devastating hurricane in the United States. In addition, they share their sick days with fellow employees. They promote from within, and they have extremely low turnover for the type of organization that they are. When I was flying here, I happened to be on a Qantas flight, and I watched a beautiful little animated film called The Breadwinner. And The Breadwinner is about a young girl in Afghanistan who actually cuts her hair and dresses up like a boy because that's the only way that she can help support her family. Very sad from that point of view. But either her grandmother or her mother says, stories remain in our hearts, even when all else is gone. And in that spirit, I'd like to share with you a tale of two companies. Company number one, the CEO believed that people were expendable. He would say, no worries, good riddance. There'll be plenty more where she came from. He spent his work life inside of his office with the door closed. He was feared, not respected, and when the economy heated up, he opened the door, and guess what? There wasn't a lineup of people waiting to work there. In fact, there was no one, and they couldn't recruit the people they needed to get the job done. And customer service suffered. And eventually, he was totally out of business. Sadly, the second CEO was beloved by his people. People were valuable, he would tell me. He spent his work life in leading by walking around. He'd spend as much time as he could walking around, talking with his people. He took a special interest in his people. He was respected and, as I said, beloved. He rewarded people just for knowing the values of the organization. We're talking about frontline people now. And people cried when he left. He was truly an enlightened leader, and he ran a company that cared about its people. When we wrote the book, Employer of Choice, one of the things that we discovered was that care of people was one of the keys to being recognized as an employer of choice. And we defined that as supporting a higher quality of life for employees, including promoting life-work balance. Now, you notice that says life-work balance, not work-life balance. And there's a reason for that, and that is because for our younger employees, life comes first. And they're looking for flexibility in place and space. If you can allow them to work from home sometimes, so much the better. You must maintain a safe and healthy workplace, and at the same time, even involve employees' families. As a futurist, I saw that there were certain very special companies who cared about everyone who had a stake in their success, not just the employees, not just the customers, but everyone. They were the employer of choice. They were the supplier of choice. They were the client of choice for their suppliers. And most happy for the CEO, they were the most profitable. What made them appear to be so caring? I reasoned, and I discovered it was that they were delivering positive experiences to all of these stakeholder groups, not only to their employees and their customers, but to their investors and their shareholders and the communities and the families of their employees, to everyone. And that led me to write my new book, Experience Rules, because I understood that when you deliver those positive experiences, that will drive engagement, and engagement drives profit like nothing else. Enter a new member of the ozone, the CEXO, the Chief Experience Officer. Unlike the CXO of software companies, whom you've probably heard about, unlike the CXO of health systems in the U.S., I don't think that this would apply necessarily for an organization that has a national health service. In the U.S., the CXO of hospitals will look at employees and patients, but none of the other groups. So unlike those two groups of Chief Experience Officer type companies, this member of the ozone, and I believe it will be a woman. I believe that for a number of reasons. Maybe we'll discuss that in the Q&A. She will coordinate brands and messaging and graphics, and she'll look for alignment and congruence. And all of the executive vice presidents of HR and marketing and investor relations and supply chain, everybody will report to the CEXO, because organizations will be driven so much by profit, and they will have understood that it is that giving positive experiences that will make the difference in their bottom line. In closing, whether we're parents looking to create good citizens and caring and compassionate people, or corporate leaders looking to deliver positive experiences to their stakeholders and drive profit into the future, I urge you to invest in delivering a culture of caring, because when you do, everybody wins.